So for the next logo, what I wanted to do is just show you a little bit about the text tool. And so I picked this North Face logo here. I'm not going to be reproducing the whole logo, but I'm just going to show you how you might come across having to match up somebody's font. And that can be tricky. So something you should probably consider is if someone sends you the font, you don't really have the licensing for it. So the best way really is to ask the people if they have to use a particular font. I mean, if they've got the font, they've probably got the logo, and they've probably got a vector-based logo. If they do, ask them to send you the font as an outline, which is curves, and so it's not actually editable as text. What you can do alternatively is buy the font, buy the license for it, but fonts can be expensive. If you need some resource on fonts, then I would always check out dafont.com. That is a brilliant place for finding some amazing fonts if you want to come up with logos. If you're just trying to do just great work, then Dafont is a brilliant place. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this logo. Let's copy the image, and let's go back and let's fire up CorelDraw, and let's open this up now. Okay, that's where we were. So the top left-hand side, just above the drawing area, I'm going to start a new document, and I'm going to paste that logo in there. Now that's an interesting thing straight off. Now the reason why it's done that is because it's a PNG, and so any transparency there, when it's brought that through as black at the top and bottom. It's not really going to affect us too much on this one. I mean, what I could do is I could go to the left-hand side, crop tool, I can bring that over, find that edge, and I could physically crop that out. So if I go to there, so if you see any slight lagging on my screen, it's because of the screen capture. Okay, so that should do it. I could zoom in and make sure I've got all the font. I could double click on that area. I've got a little bit of black line there. It doesn't really matter for this purpose. And that is quite annoying. I'm going to have to change that. Sorry, I'm just it's going to drive me a little bit mad. So let's just whack a box around there, and let's zoom right in, and let's get a shot of that black line. So I'm going to take it up to that edge and double click there. That's much better. Okay, I feel better about that. Sorry. Okay, let's bring this North Face over. So I'm clicking down with the left mouse button, and I'm moving the object around the logo. And I'm going to make it a little bit bigger just so you guys can see. And I want it over the right hand side of the screen, because when I bring the text tool across, I'm going to get a drop down menu here, and you can scroll through the fonts and have a look and see if you can match something up. So first off, as I'm drawing this, I am literally going to right click, and I'm going to lock the object, which basically means I can't move that while I'm drawing, which can be very annoying if you're trying to draw and you accidentally move the whole image underneath. On the left hand side, I've got the text tool, or F8, and I'm going to click down on that, and I'm going to come across to this area, and I'm going to click once. I'm not going to click and drag like this, because that is really for the purpose of constraining or holding text for if you were doing like a documentation, like for this course or something. So I'm going to delete that, and what I want is just the text tool, and I want to click down once where the cursor flashes on the screen, and that basically enables me to manipulate the text as any other object that I bring into CorelDraw, like an ellipse tool or a square or something. But it's still editable, which is fantastic. So I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to draw this whole logo. What I'm going to do is just show you how to find this font, or hopefully find this font. I don't know if you've got anything similar. Okay, so first off, I'm going to type in all in capitals, hello, caps on. Right, there you go. The North and Face. Okay, cool. And of course, I want to set the text justification to this side, which is the right. So as you can see, this ever-changing bar here changes with you as you're putting in different tools. You know, like an ellipse tool, you might get the sizing guide. Text tool, you get the text options, bold, italic, underline, and of course justification. So let's justify the text to the right hand side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of bring it over the area over to this side. And what I'm going to be looking at is some components of this particular font. I mean, that's not far off. That's your standard Arial font. The C cuts off a little bit higher, a bit of an angle. The R is different, if you can see that. The rest of it you could almost get away with. And what you could do, if you really got stuck, is you could bolderize this font, or you could put an outline or a contour around it, thicken it up, and then edit it as a editable outline file. And I know it sounds a little bit complicated at the moment, but for now, let's just have a look and see if we can find a font like this. So I'm going to click on this text once, which gives me the manipulation tool either side to scale it unproportionally or proportionally. Okay, and I'm going to come across here to the transformation bar, and as I scroll through, look at that North Face text. It's quite close. It's a little bit thick. Yeah, that may do it. It's probably not thick enough. That's Swiss. We can scroll through a few more. What's this? Square. So you can see just as you scroll through, your actual text will give you a preview. Okay, well, let's go with that. Let's go with Swiss and let's bolderize that. Yeah, that's going to be pretty close. Now what I would do, let's just give it a nice bright outline. So right clicking on the right hand side on your color docker, and with the left key, let's go to the top there and get rid of the fill. Okay, so no fill. So there's a few things that we could do here to make our life a little bit easier. So first off, let's get the right size. Okay, so let's get that as close as we can. I'm going to use that by the scaling tool either side. And we're getting there. Pretty close, pretty close. It isn't quite the right font. It's really close though, look at that. And I think for the purposes of this video, it probably will do for us for a moment. And I'll just show you how we can tweak that to make it a little bit closer. I'm just going to pull that font out just a little bit more in height, just so that we can get that right. Okay, that's cool. I'm going to pop that over the top there. Now you can use, you can use your arrows keys left and right to move that text around. Now I want to close the gap between the lines of letters and possibly close the gap slightly between the letter spacing. So first, let's reduce this distance between the lines of letters. Going back over to the left-hand side, I'm going to select the Shape tool, or F10, and I'm going to come back down and click on the font once, and I'm going to drag upwards, which is going to show you that the distance between the lines of letterings is being reduced. Okay, a little bit of lag on the screen there, sorry guys. Let's just draw this down slightly more. Okay, that's cool. I'm actually quite happy with that, and I am going to reduce the font distance between the lettering a little bit as well. So it looks good here. Maybe it could just come down a little bit more, just squeeze more. Well, I'm in the realms now of actually the font feeling like it's a little bit too small. If I want to individually move the positions of, let's just say, that N, what I can do, there's these points at the bottom here. Now I could pick that up and I could physically actually move that font on its own, or that actual letter. So I'm just going to move it. I don't want to move the base position, but I'm just going to drag it back. And the same with the O, the R. Let's move that. Let's move this one as well forward. And the A, pretty much all of them, to be honest. And what I'm going to do, because I want to drop the baseline of this down slightly, I've highlighted the four points there, and now I'm going to just drag it down slightly. Okay, that's going to give me a truer position, I think, for that. This one here, I think I'll drag this one over this way slightly as well. Okay, that's cool. I'm happy with that. Obviously, it's not completely perfect. Now, if you really, really wanted to be picky there is another option. Let's just drop this slightly. But once we do this, we cannot change this font. So let me just put some colour in it. Anything will do. Let's put in a grey or something like that. There you go. You can see that. Let's select all of it and let's change the colour of the whole lot. So let's go red. Okay. It looks really good actually. I'm quite pleased with it. So that's your text tool. If you did really, really want to tweak it around and move, say, this whole arm section of the R across, then what we'd have to do there, you'd have to go up to the Arrange tool and you'd have to convert it to curves. Now, the minute you convert it to curves, this text is not editable as a font. Okay, it becomes a component of its own right. It becomes outlines. So I'm going to click on that because I just want to show you what you can do. So now this is, all these points are now editable, and it gives you that flexibility where, you say you had a customer come in and he had an almost bang-on font, a little bit similar to that, but it had a slight kick somewhere like this here. What you could do is you could select those points, and you could just, using the arrow key left and right, you can just inch that across, and it just so you can just get it just bang on. Yeah, and if you're unsure whether you're moving the baseline, then another thing that I like to do, going back to the pick tool, is to go up to your ruler and drag it down. Okay, and you can position that ruler right across the bottom of the text. So at any point, selecting my shape tool, I had accidentally moved the position of this. I could quite easily highlight that component and drag it down and sit it back on the baseline. So I know exactly where I am all the time. Yeah, so that's quite cool. And then if you sent this to a customer and they could open it as a CorelDraw file and they didn't have the font, they would get an error and it would try and substitute a font, or it would temporarily put the font in if it was embedded, and obviously wouldn't be editable. Actually, in some of the newer versions, you can actually edit the font now, and it temporarily holds that embedded font for you. But yeah, so yeah, and obviously the next section of this would be to draw the curves, and we would do that using the Bezier tool, exactly the same. And you can see that we can just go through the normal process and make up that component. I'm not going to go through that now, because now I want to go on to drawing something a little bit more exciting. So that's using the text tool, and I hope you like that part, and let's move on to the next drawing.